Hello, thanks for watching or listening. Paul Auerter with Medscape Infectious Diseases. Uh, Recently, I've taken notice that pandemic inspired entertainment continues to be popular. This is despite now in 2023 the SARS-CoV-2 virus being with us for some time. I've been a film buff for quite a while, and looking back, there have been at least over 100 films or entertainment television series or so on that have used this device as part of their storytelling. I've seen Aerosmith, for example. This was based on the Sinclair Lewis novel from the mid 1920s. This movie came out in 1931 and portrays an idealistic physician and who is also doing some research and goes to the West Indies and confronts bubonic plague. And this film won 4 Academy Award nominations and is something that still plays well enough if you don't care to read one of the classic books about infectious agents that's been fictionalized. When I was growing up, one movie that fascinated me was The Andromeda Strain. I read the book by Michael Crichton, and this is a bit different. It's not an alien coming to threaten the Earth, but an extraterrestrial microorganism that threatens the planet. And I think this is something that still plays well. More recently, 2 films that I think critics and audiences have always enjoyed are Outbreak, the mid-1990s film with Dustin Hoffman about an Ebola-like virus that breaks out in California and then spreads to the United States. And then a little over a decade ago, Contagion was quite popular. And this was a Matt Damon and Gwyneth Paltrow vehicle about a highly fatal infection. Now, most of these have used viruses, mainly because they're fast moving. This was true for a miniseries that debuted 2 years ago, Station 11, which a virus wiped out 99% of people. And although that's not the definition of a successful virus for most of us, it certainly made for good fictional drama. But the one that sort of inspired me to do this taping is Last of Us. And this is a bit different, I thought. This just debuted in January of 2023. And this particular one starts off, and I think sort of grabs you, at least if you have infectious diseases interests, by opening with a 1968 television program where there are 2 scientists and a moderator, sort of like an old Dick Cavett episode. And it's 1968, so perhaps this is the Hong Kong flu era, and discuss the potential for pandemic and those sorts of things. And one of the panelists, of course, thinks influenza and a virus would be the key one. However, quite skeptically to the other 2, one scientist says that a fungus will be the one that causes a problem. And what he thinks is that this is a kind of virus that might infect someone and translate into some kind of mind control. He was inspired by psilocybin, which is more popularly known as LSD, from a mushroom, which is, of course, a fungus, and that a fungus might do much the same to someone. And also there's the very odd characteristic of Ophthocordyceps. And this is a fungus which will infect ants and certainly change their behavior and turn them into what are sometimes called zombie ants. So there's some basis in nature for this particular entity. And then, of course, the series warps ahead to what seems to be present-day Chicago for a fast-moving and apparently lethal epidemic that turns out to be a fungus called cordyceps, which doesn't infect humans, at least that we know of currently, and usually seen in warm climates. But this apparently infects many and turns them into zombie-like behaviors and so on. And it was just eerie that I picked up a copy of JAMA, and there was a nice article by Rubin there in their front section that went over Candida auris and some of the challenges that this fungal pathogen poses, which is often highly resistant and prone to spreading in facilities. Most people, even if they're colonized, are asymptomatic, but if it develops invasive infection, mortality rates have been as high as 60%. And, and there's been grave concerns because some isolates are highly resistant, many to fluconazole, up to 5% to a kind of candidas even. And Nevada is one state where there's been an outbreak now since 2021, and several facilities have really had issues, and indeed some are also screening their high-risk patients for the pathogen to help prevent outbreaks. And although Candida auris certainly doesn't cause zombie-like nature, I think this is something that remains highly concerning. Of course, may have been driven by agricultural or human azole use as this has emerged in past years, but it had always been a bit difficult to distinguish from other Candida species. But now we're paying more attention. So it's unclear if you have an interest in watching miniseries or films about the pandemic. We may have had our fill, but this particular series, The Last of Us, certainly uses a pandemic more to delve into human nature and conflict rather than fighting the pandemic per se. But certainly the topic of a fungal infection does pose challenges for us in the future and control of such difficult infections. Thanks so much for listening.